Hey there, and thank you so much for being with us on this Monday. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz, and this is Weather Out West, where we're showcasing what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. You're going to find daily coverage from the Pacific Northwest to the Mountain West and California to Arizona in the Southwest. First, let's start with Spokane, Washington. It's a weather impact alert day due to the high heat and wildfire risk.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington, and we first actually give you a live look over Coeur d'Alene in Idaho. Beautiful blue skies outside right now, but it did not get all that cool last night. The heat continues to pour on as of today. Some temperatures stayed in the 70s during the overnight. And we are once again in for another 90-degree day ahead of us, and this time adding wind into the equation. In fact, with higher winds by this evening and tonight, that is going to increase the fire danger to critical levels. This could be one of the more important forecasts that we've had in eastern Washington recently, because the high wind not just increases the fire danger, but the wind speeds forecasted at 40 to 60 miles per hour could actually cause damage in its own right as well. So red flag warnings are in effect from 1 to 11 o'clock today, and I'm can use that time frame for our weather impact alert day. So no outdoor burning. Make sure to respect all burn bans. That does include campfires and bonfires outside. But because the winds are going to be so strong, there might be very little we can do if any tree branches snap off or if power lines get damaged due to these stronger winds. And oftentimes that can be the spark for any new wildfires. So there are wind advisories for the northern tier of the inland Northwest. And look at this gold shaded area. This is the Okanagan Valley where Omak and Tenasket are. Wind speeds up to 60 miles per hour in that region. So these are going to be very strong northerly winds that will increase and accelerate for tonight. The rest of the region under red flag warnings for these sustained winds at around 25 to 40 miles per hour. That does include the Spokane area. So heightened fire danger all throughout this region of the inland Northwest because primarily of those stronger winds. It's not just new wildfires that we'll be watching out for, but the active fires as well. The Clover fire is only about 15 acres large, but again, because this is kind of a newer fire, any stronger winds tonight could cause that to burn a bit more aggressively. Same goes for the Hope fire and the Western Pines fire in northeastern Washington. These well over 1,000 acres each, and those again could get kind of reignited as if the wind is fanning the flames. That tends to be the most critical part of our red flag warnings in these high fire danger days. So with speeds at around 40 miles per hour in Spokane and even above in northern Washington, it is again critical. New wildfire starts are possible depending on the damage, but any active fires, be them new or ongoing, can oftentimes spread very quickly. So we'll be monitoring that into this evening. And of course, the fires and the smoke as it's related could cause those sky conditions to be pretty hazy into tonight and even tomorrow morning, as you see a fair amount of haze, even on the computer modeling for Tuesday morning, along with those northerly winds. The winds are coming from this cold front, actually quite powerful for July standards here. And while it is currently laid out over British Columbia and Alberta, it's going to slide through eastern Washington and North Idaho by around sunset tonight, 8-9 p.m. Beforehand, still hot outside. Heat advisories go for one more day with high temperatures in the 90s. Thankfully, that cold front is going to knock down the temperatures for Tuesday, but not before giving us a bit of some strong wind and maybe even a small chance for some showers across the northernmost county in Idaho, that is Boundary County. There's going to be about a 70 to almost 80% chance of rain there, but very little elsewhere for the inland Northwest. Again, another dry cold front passage, save for that small sector of the inland Northwest. So a weather impact alert day due to those stronger winds, wind gusts at 40 to 60 miles per hour, strongest after sunset tonight.
Thanks so much, Thomas. Yeah, it's going to be a hot one in the Pacific Northwest, inland west, but the heat is going to continue all the way into Idaho as well. Let's head on over to Boise.
Hello, my name is Hector Mendoza. We're forecasting here out in Boise, Idaho. And this was a look at one of the sunset photos that we got in our Idaho Weather Watchers Facebook page out in Caldwell. Lizzie Marie posted this on our Facebook page. And the one thing you see out here is some of the colors, but also a bit of some of that haze, and that is due to wildfire smoke that we've been seeing the past couple of days sort of trickle in and out through the weekend, and that's pretty much going to be sort of the similar situation we're going to see today and into the next couple of days. And here's another sunset photo out of Pocatello. Kelly Calhoun is the one that posted this one, and again you could sort of see some of that haze, but what a beautiful photo we got there with lots of reds, yellows, and oranges up into the sky with some of those clouds. But the biggest thing that we're going to be looking at is even through this morning, looking at our Sun Valley web camera here, we did see some of those sort of lighter, hazier conditions there. That's going to continue to increase here in portions of the mountains, and pretty similar here in Boise, as we could see some of that clearing later on, but started off the morning with some of those hazy conditions. And this is a look here at our near surface smoke forecast, where we could see some of those hazier conditions that could come along later on through the morning and into the early afternoon, clearing out just a bit, sticking around in portions like Twin Falls in the Magic Valley and closer to the Idaho-Nevada border and places in southeast Oregon as well. But as we get later on into the day and getting closer into Tuesday, we could see some of that smoke make its way through coming in from the northwest, and then it could increase in places in the central mountains and everywhere in this sort of darker green, and again coming from some of those fires that we've seen pretty recently there, not too far out of Jordan Valley there in portions there, looking at the Coyote fire. So again, that could be impacting some of the conditions through the rest of the day today and into the next couple days. The other thing we're paying attention to is the sizzling temperatures we're going to be seeing to start off this sort of work week. Then we're going to see some gusty winds that are going to start to pick up later on this afternoon into Tuesday. That will also increase fire danger, so that's something we're going to continue to pay attention to, as we do have a red flag warning in place. And then we're going to see a system come in that brings us a brief cooling or sort of milder temperatures compared to some of the triple digits we're going to be seeing for today as we get closer to the middle of the week. But again, with the heat for today, we have a heat advisory set into place for some spots in the lower Treasure Valley, including places in Canyon County. We're also seeing a red flag warning for some of that heat, gusty winds, and very low humidity for this afternoon for some spots, including Mountain Home in the Treasure Valley, down into the Magic Valley, extending on into places in eastern Idaho. So making sure that do not outdoor burn is not recommended here, because some of those fires that do get set and start, they could catch and spread very quickly. So that's something that we're going to continue to pay attention to. But as we look at our upper level pattern, we're going to see that this ridge of high pressure is going to continue to amplify through the rest of the day today. Then we're going to see a system that comes in through Wednesday. That'll bring us breezier conditions. It'll bring a cold front along with it that will drop some of our temperatures to more seasonable temperatures for tomorrow and Wednesday. And then as the system makes its way on out, as we look on into Thursday, heat will start to rebuild Thursday, and that looks to continue all the way through the weekend. So that's something that we're going to continue to pay attention to. So we're looking to tack on another day of triple digit heat as we're looking here in the Boise area. As we've had 3 so far, we're expecting to have a total of 4 by the end of the week, as we will have the hottest temperatures at least for today. So as we look at the 7-day forecast, we're seeing 100 degrees for today, dropping down to more seasonable territory there for Tuesday and Wednesday, possibly seeing some of those gustier winds into Tuesday afternoon. Then we'll start to see them lighten up just a bit as we get on into Wednesday, and then another ridge of high pressure starts to build as we're going to see temperatures climb back up into the upper 90s. We'll also see those morning temperatures get closer to 70, and that looks to stick around all the way through the weekend, with temperatures dropping to the mid-90s by Sunday.
Hector Mendoza out of Boise. Coming up next, we have a lot to talk about. We're going to take you to Colorado and Arizona. A lot to talk about, the heat, and then maybe a couple of thunderstorms in Denver. We'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back to Weather Out West on this Monday. It's time to talk about the weather in Colorado. It's going to be a hot one, no surprise there, but a few storms may be in the mix as well. Corey Reppenhagen will have the details. Also, have you ever seen a fire NATO? Chris Bianchi will explain how they form. Check it out.
Hey, it's meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen here with the 9 News Weather Impact Team in Denver, Colorado. Taking a look at the forecast for our state, where we've got some high heat in store the next couple of days. upper 90s likely across the Front Range and Northeast Plains, and some triple-digit heat out on the western slope where they are currently battling some big wildfires out that way. And this all comes as we approach what is climatologically the hottest week of the year here in Denver. July 17th through the 22nd, those are the only 6 days of the year where our normal high temperatures are up to 91 degrees. Also on that week is we hit the hottest temperature we've ever seen here in Denver, which is 105 degrees. That happened on July 20th. 2005. All of our days here in July so far have been pretty hot. All 13 days included the 100-degree day that we had on the 9th. Even the 3 cooler than normal high temperatures have been very close to that average. So it's been very warm, and it's going to stay that way. Our weather pattern featuring a lot of high pressure. This high pressure ridge that is getting a lot of news out on the western part of the United States, kind of centered over Southern California. Now this circulation coming around this is bringing our air from the north to the south here in Denver, and that's kind of suppressing any chance to see some monsoon moisture for us here in Colorado. So we haven't seen quite the cloud cover that we have seen in years past, and that's getting the evaporation rates up there. We have this ridge will flatten out a little bit. We could cool off Wednesday and Thursday, but we'll likely see that ridge rebuild, and so they're battling those wildfires out on the western slope of Colorado. We've got 4 pretty big ones going, including one out in Utah where the Deer Creek fire is. So we have air quality alerts in the southwest Colorado for wildfire smoke, and up here in the Front Range, our air quality alert is for ozone pollution. Here's the 7-day forecast in Denver. You see those 2 days there where we'll drop below 90 degrees and get some better chance for rain, but we'll likely be in the 90s by next week.
Well, it was certainly an ominous view for us yesterday from the Douglas County brush fire. First of all, of course, the wildfire itself was ominous looking, but you might have seen a few of these images, fire whirls or fire tornadoes, fire-nados. We saw several of these within this wildfire yesterday. Now, what exactly is a fire-nado? How do they form? I'll give you the basic premise of what's going on here. We've got a lot of hot air, and what does hot air do? It rises. So you've got a lot of this hot air that is rising. What's interesting about yesterday's fire whirl and yesterday's fire tornado, is that this was caused by a slightly different mechanism than most fire-nados are. So there were very light winds. That was a saving grace with this fire-nado and this fire whirl that we had yesterday, and that brush fire. But yesterday's fire-nado, if that had been in, say, 20, 30-mile-an-hour winds, that would have looked a lot different. So within a fire-nado, we often get concerned by that as meteorologists when we see those, because often when you've got a fire tornado, there's so much going on within that, so much rising heat and so much energy, frankly, within that fire-nados can create their own weather. They can create their own winds, very unpredictable, areas of high, low pressure, and you can kind of get just different areas of weather within that fire-nado itself, because again, there's so much energy, so much going on within that. Temperatures can reach 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit within a fire-nado. Again, incredibly hot, just so much heat within that. Yesterday's fire-nado, I mentioned this, was caused by light winds. You just had a ton of hot air rising simultaneously, so all that hot air could do was go up in that one direction. Usually there's a little bit of an ebb and flow going on within that, but yesterday we did not have that, fortunately. So yesterday's fire-nado is slightly different from the other fire-nados that we often see in Colorado and across the West.
One of the coolest weather phenomena, at least in my opinion. Next up, the monsoon moisture that Corey mentioned will push into Arizona this week. Ginger Jeffries from Phoenix has all the details.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries. We'll look at your weather out west for the great state of Arizona. And boy, oh boy, do we have a very active week of weather ahead. And I think this is a great illustration of it. You can see some of this. These are basically rain shadows coming out of a cloud. It's Virga, so it dissipates before it makes its way to the ground. But certainly, as you see this kind of ominous looking sky, we have some monsoons resurging this week, and it could be as early as tonight. So across across Arizona, temperature-wise, yeah, we're still on the toasty side. Look at these numbers. 106 in Yuma. I've got 112 in Lake Havasu, 109 overhead in Phoenix, which is just slightly above the normal range. But as you can see, from Flagstaff to Winslow, even around the Tucson area today, not only do we have hot conditions, but later this afternoon, we have monsoon moisture bubbling up. So the monsoon meter, again, this is our gauge of where we expect to see active monsoons. And look at this, 6s for the Rim, White Mountains, and the Southeast Arizona sections, meaning there will be storms today, and some of them potentially are going to be pretty sizable. Meantime, a little bit of moisture will be moving through northern Arizona. And of course, since we have this much active weather around the valley, we are at a 1. Right now, you can see a satellite picture shows some of this moisture. It's rotating around, but again, it's just basically to the east and southeast of the metro. As it whips around, though, we've got a better opportunity as we get into the evening hours. Take a look at this. About 6:45 before 7 o'clock, we're seeing some pop-up showers. And again, the concentration is right here in the southeast and off to the east, but we can't rule out higher elevations in Flagstaff. Then as we get into Tuesday, look at the darker banding. This is going to be some heavier cell activity, but still, for the most part, it's scattered and isolated. And then when we get into Wednesday, we're going to see even stronger outflow, heavier banding. So that means heavier downpours from the east into higher elevations. And that's when it starts to merge into the Phoenix metro area by Thursday. Now, unfortunately, we can't take this model that far out. By Thursday, that's when I think we've got our best opportunity for some measurable rainfall in Phoenix. So right now, it is humid as high pressure is pushing away. We are going to start seeing this tropical moisture move our direction. And so bottom line, temperatures will be coming down and humidity levels go up, but our chances for rain looking healthy. I mean, look how active the next 7 days are, especially for the higher elevations. We should get up to about 70% coverage. Now for Phoenix, our chances for rain, yeah, they're kind of out there tonight, but then they really increase Wednesday into Thursday. So by the time this work week is over, we are going to pick up some fresh rainfall, but it's also going to be very muggy. Look at this, the curve as far as our dew points, meaning it's going to be steamy and sticky. Will be on the higher side Wednesday and Thursday, and then we start drying out for the weekend. When I'm talking about monsoons, I'm also talking about wind. It's going to respond to the moisture moving through, and once again, we're going to see that after about the 5 o'clock hour, starting to dissipate after 9 o'clock, but we've got another little bit of moisture tomorrow early morning just to the south. So the bottom line, plenty of sun today. We'll see some of those thin clouds here and there, and again, storms around us. Our temperatures are slightly elevated above our normal range of 107, but then tonight it's going to be unsettled as these winds really start to pick up. We're seeing them around 30 miles an hour at 5 o'clock. Overnight lows should be dropping down to about 88 degrees, but 7-day forecast coming your way. Flagstaff, yeah, it is going to be an active week of weather as you've got potential for storms basically every single night. Now, our best opportunity here in the valley, 10 to 20% for the next couple days, but Wednesday and Thursday bank on rain coming through as highs fall below normal.
Thanks so much, Ginger. Please send some of that rain to the Pacific Northwest. We desperately need it. Coming up after the break, we are going to take you to the Pacific Northwest, Seattle, and Portland, bracing for some more hot weather. It is weather out west on this Monday. Now we're going up to the Pacific Northwest in Seattle on Sunday. Hit 90 degrees for the second time, and temperatures are going to back off a bit, but only for today before the heat cranks back up. There is a heat advisory in place Tuesday and Wednesday. I have all the details. Check it out. Happy Monday from Seattle. I'm King 5 meteorologist Ashley Ruiz. It's not going to be nearly as hot today, but still on the warm side. Seattle hit a high of 90 degrees on Sunday, which was the second time so far this year. We have a better chance to hit 90 on Wednesday, but the heat's going to build into Tuesday, and unfortunately, we do have an elevated fire weather risk, especially Tuesday through Thursday. And we are under first alert weather mode on Tuesday and Wednesday because we have a heat advisory in place. We're not going to have much relief from the heat from tomorrow all the way into Wednesday night and potentially into Thursday as well. And we're going to have some pretty high heat at least until Thursday and into Friday, although it will be cooler by then. So this is the breakdown. So first alert weather mode Tuesday to Wednesday because of the heat and the elevated fire weather risk. So make sure you find ways to stay cool, stay hydrated, and take frequent breaks, especially if you work outside. Here's a look at the forecast highs for Tuesday. The orange, that indicates that heat advisory. That includes all of the I-5 corridor up to Whatcom County and then all the way down to the Oregon and Washington state line. Highs tomorrow from about Seattle southward, including the Cascade foothills, going to be in the upper 80s, potentially a few spots in the lower 90s. From Everett northward, you see low and mid 80s, except for the Cascade foothills. Then we turn the page into Wednesday, and this is when our temperatures are expected to peak. Low and mid 90s for the Puget Sound region, at least Central Sound, but then North Sound generally in the low and mid 80s. So our typical hot spots likely going to reach the 90s. Additionally, we are expecting, at least briefly, offshore winds, and that's going to elevate our fire weather risk. Not so much today. We're still going to have some higher relative humidity, but then watch what happens into Tuesday. We get that push of offshore winds. The extent of it and how far to the west it gets, that's something we'll have to watch out for, but this could bring us in that critical fire weather risk into Tuesday with our relative humidity values down to 20 to 30%. That could also be the case into Wednesday. But it's been a beautiful morning out there today, the cooler day, but we've had more clouds developing, all thanks to a disturbance to the northeast of us dropping from British Columbia, and that will bring that return of onshore winds briefly. You see blue skies in Seattle. This is our Columbia Center tower cam from downtown Seattle looking toward beautiful Mount Rainier, and you see those low clouds. Then off to the coast, we have cloudy skies. It's going to be windy close to the coast as well. And you see these clouds, how they're starting to build as we get that push of onshore winds, especially over the South Sound from Tacoma down to the beaches and then all the way to the northeast. For today, thanks to those onshore winds, even if it's just slightly, we're going to have highs in the mid and upper 70s to around 80 for Puget Sound, then north of Seattle, low and mid 70s, and the coast, as always, going to be cooler. Tonight, we'll have lows in the low and mid 50s to our south and near 60 for Seattle before that big warm up. And then into the afternoon, you see how some clouds will likely stick around, but then we're clearing overnight and into our Tuesday. So you see 88 on Tuesday, followed by Wednesday at 92 degrees, and then we'll finally start to see the heat back off. TV magic there. Okay, next we're going to go to Portland, Oregon, where they're also going to be dealing with some pretty hot weather.
On a break from the heat Monday, that's what we're calling it here in Portland. I'm meteorologist Rod Hill. Hope your day's going well. We are watching one big red flag warning area. It's on the east side, and it's generally north of the Columbia River, up from White Salmon, Goldendale, and then up into Kennewick. Fire danger believed to be high today. And on the same theme, it's yet to be seen if the Weather Service will pop up any red flag warnings for fire danger tomorrow, Wednesday, here in the Portland area. But the wind direction tomorrow is going to flip to the north-northeast. That alone will lead to lower humidity, which raises fire danger, and we're going to be well up into the 90s tomorrow, maybe 100 on Wednesday. So even if there aren't warnings posted, and there may or may not be, don't lose sight of the fact that on these hot days, fire danger is inherently high, and any spark could quickly spread if anything is sparked for a fire. Now, our number one story is not today, but it's the heat advisory posted up and down I-5 for Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday. This includes Eugene, Salem, Portland, Vancouver, up into Kelso, Longview. The hottest of the weather will be for Portland, Salem on Wednesday. More on that in a moment. There is a lingering heat advisory today out in parts of Umatilla County and out into Pelton, where temperatures could get up to about 100 degrees. Okay, back to the next round of hot weather. So this is noon Tuesday for the afternoon hours all the way through Wednesday evening. It looks like mid-90s potentially on Tuesday, but look at the 102. Potentially upper 90s to 100 or 102 in the Willamette Valley on Wednesday. And Thursday, it looks like we'll start to bring things back down. But obviously exhaustion, heat stroke, shade, water, rest breaks, and most importantly, perhaps simply reorganizing your plans for outdoor activity on Wednesday to avoid being out in some of the hottest weather. Here's our temperature march. This is our Futurecast model. Now it does show this afternoon low to mid 80s from Portland down through Salem and into Corvallis. So again, this is our one-day break. There's the 101 in Pendleton with the heat advisory in play. Now I'm going to play this into tomorrow. Look what happens Tuesday. It flip-flops. The east side cools down, Pendleton 89 or 90, but we heat back up here in the Rose City, back up to about 95 or 96, equaling yesterday's, Sunday's high temperature, and pretty hot out through the gorge where heat advisories will be in place as well. And then the hottest day, Wednesday. Did you see it? It ticked 100, 100 in Salem, perhaps 100 in Corvallis and Eugene, at least hotter than 96. Which is the warmest we've been so far. So I would say confidence is absolute at this point that Wednesday will be at least the hottest day of the year. Maybe we get up to 100 degrees. All right, some live cameras for you. That's what's coming up. Again, today the big story is take advantage. It's going to be a beautiful, sunny, more comfortable day. Well, a wine country camera for you. You can see the vineyard from our Chehalem tasting room camera in Sherwood. Really pretty setting. There's our familiar state capitol and, of course, downtown Portland. Temperatures have been in the 60s out the door. Out in the gorge, I want to show you winds are already gusting this morning in 31. That's the Columbia River. This is the Oregon Veterans Home camera out in the Dalles. You folks will see west gust up to about 35 miles per hour today, so we'll keep an eye on that. Salem 87 or cooler. Portland will be in the 80s. Vancouver 83, Battleground 80. We have seen early clouds up in Longview, Kelso area. It's also cloudy along our coast this morning. And for about 2 weeks now, the beach has been cloudy quite a bit. And it's the same story today. Partial clearing a possibility this afternoon. You're looking at 94 degrees over in Bend today. And here's Portland 7-day with the KGW impact alert tomorrow and Wednesday. So 84 today, 95 tomorrow, 99 Wednesday. We drop it down to 92 on Thursday. And by the upcoming weekend, we're all the way back down to about 80 or 82 for more comfortable weather with morning clouds and afternoon sunshine.
Thanks so much, Rod. Coming up after the break, we're taking you to California, Sacramento, and San Diego. Also going to be hot, but maybe not for long. Stick with us. You are watching Weather Out West on this Monday. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz. It's going to be hot, hot, hot for Northern California. No surprises there, but a nice cool down is headed their way.
Hello, I'm ABC 10 meteorologist Rob Karlmark in Northern California, and there's actually quite a bit of weather even in the middle of summer. We're going to see a lot of changes. Locally, we're going to be cooling down amazingly into the 80s, which for this part of the country in summer, which is our hottest month in July, is really tough to do, but that's where we're going. So we'll go ahead and give you just some regional headlines here. Along the coast, the hotter it gets inland, the more fog that we see and marine layer low clouds. So maybe it's not ground level, but just gray skies is something very persistent, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. For the valley locations, we're looking at heat and continued poor air quality. It's not as bad as what we saw over the weekend, but a lot of smoke-related issues and also just ozone, which is related to smog. In the foothills, nice days, but still really warm in the 90s, and the Sierra, for the most part, remains dry. Great weather conditions, but dry. Now, recently we saw a fire near a community called Rancho Murrieta. You can see why. At this time, we get a lot of low-lying grass fires. You can see it all across the region there. We get natural, nice green grass in March and April, then it dries out because it doesn't rain, and then boom, everything is just charred and ready to go. So that's where we are at the moment. A number of fires have popped up already. We get lots and lots of these fires, and we've had a few big ones, which really ramps up the acres burned. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at some comparison. For the 5-year average, by the first week in July, we tend to see a lot of fires. There's just a lot of people here. There's a lot of fires. And about 45,000 acres is the 5-year average according to CAL FIRE, which is the state firefighting agency. Then last year we saw
quite a bit more than that. And then, of course, we've seen a number of really large ones just break out, get out of control. So about the same number of fires, maybe a little bit above average, but a lot more acres burned. Now, all you really need is a couple to really take off, and then you're going to be in trouble. So just focusing on the smoke forecast, anything that's ongoing is very localized. For the most part, we're not seeing major issues related to smoke. Just the closer you are to the fire, that's where we're going to see it. So mostly blue skies. You could see in Marin County, which is along the coast, we had some low-lying fog. That's now burned off, which means that we've seen it enough sunlight sort of penetrate those clouds and then really erode that marine layer. So we're looking for sunny skies. The smog issues are almost always related to high pressure, sinking air, squashing things down. Sometimes you can get some onshore wind, which stirs it up and you get less air quality issues, but if you remove that wind, the pollution just builds during the day and you have a lot of pollution issues. We have some of the worst air quality in the country because it fills in like a bowl and there's very few opportunities for it to clear all the way out. We are still in what we call heat alert, and this is going to be for areas north of Sacramento. Temperatures at least well above 95 degrees, most places right around 100, so a lot of people will head to the rivers to cool off. They're still pretty cold out there in the 60s and 70s. Water temperature wise, it's still cold. Reservoirs are still doing great. In fact, Oroville, which is one of the largest reservoirs in the state, has topped out at 100% the last 3 years in a row. That's never happened since the lake was built. Temperatures across the region are really warm out there. We're going to be looking at a mixture of 80s and 90s in the Sierra foothills. 80s for places that are well known like Truckee, South Lake Tahoe. We've got widespread 80s for the higher terrain in the national parks, Yosemite and Sequoia and Kings Canyon. You get along the coast, lots of 60s because the water temperature's in the 50s. Once you start to move away from that, it's all about temperatures that are going to be well into the 90s and triple digits for most valley locations. Going out for the next 10 days, or 7 days, I should say, we're going to be near 100 today, cooling into the 90s and widespread 80s, which is rare for July, but we'll take it for Wednesday and Thursday, warming up into the weekend.
Going from Northern California to Southern California, here's your San Diego forecast. And I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz in San Diego, California. Happy Monday. Hope you all had a lovely weekend. As we take a look at what's happening in Southern California here across our region, we have that marine layer pushed back in overnight. This is a look earlier from our Mount Soledad cam, and that's facing the San Diego Bay. Overcast skies made way for a very comfortable start to the day, but this afternoon, a lot of those clouds will mix out, resulting into another summer-like afternoon. Summer-like day, I should say. As we take a look at those forecasted highs across our inland valleys, we'll be pushing close to 80 degrees for a lot of areas. These neighborhoods hug the 15 freeway. Closer to the coastal areas, we'll see temperatures in the mid to low 70s from Oceanside all the way down to Carlsbad. Encinitas, I'm forecasting high of 68 later on this afternoon. Meanwhile, closer to the mountain areas, near 90 in Palomar Mountain. Those areas in the deserts near 110, including Borrego Springs as well as Ocotillo Wells, forecasting a high of 90 degrees in Mount Laguna. So why is all of this happening? Well, we still have this area of high pressure. It's continuing to usher in warm temperatures, not only for Southern California, but much of the West Coast. And that's also keeping that cooler air well to our north. That's where the jet stream kind of separates that cooler and warmer air. We have some changes, though, as we look ahead to the second half of the week. We'll have that ridge of high pressure move out west. It will weaken, and temperatures will drop off of few degrees looking ahead to Wednesday and Thursday. Then we have some instability rolling in. This area of low pressure is going to tap into some subtropical moisture, and that could give us a chance for some isolated showers. It looks like the greatest chance will be in the mountain areas, but even the coast and the inland valleys will encounter some of that instability, and we could get clipped with a shower here or there. And the mountains, especially closer to those foothill and higher elevations, we could have a pop-up thunderstorm or two. And we know what that means. Typically, when it comes to a thunderstorm activity, we could have periods of heavy downpours, which is good because we are in desperate need of rain. That activity takes place Friday into Saturday. In fact, here's a look at those rain chances, mainly for the mountain areas. Notice how it starts to climb specifically on Friday, and then it starts to plummet as we enter the weekend. So as far as right now, it looks like it won't be a dramatic rain event that we're expecting, but we still have a slight chance, and we'll see that greater in detail as we
we push closer to the end of the week. All right, here's what we have on tap for tomorrow's highs versus where we should be for this time of the year. So we should typically see highs in the mid to high 70s along the coastal areas and ranging anywhere from the mid to high 80s for the inland valleys. Tomorrow will actually be trending anywhere between 3 to 5 degrees cooler than where we should be for this time of the year. Daytime highs for Borrego Springs are still going to be rather toasty, close to 110, but that's just 1 degree shy of our 30-year average. We are in desperate need of rain so far. We have over 4.5 inches. We should typically have just near 10 inches of rain. So that puts us at over 5 inches of a deficit when it comes to our water year numbers. And those tallies were for Lindbergh Field, also known as downtown San Diego. All right, minimal daily changes for the coastal areas as we get the new work week going. We'll be in the mid 70s, and then we warm up a couple of degrees looking ahead to this weekend. So the coastal areas will sort of see a rinse and repeat over the next several days when it comes to those daytime highs. For the inland valleys, we'll be in the low 80s, and that's where that drop in temperature comes into play Thursday and Friday as that ridge kind of backs off a bit. But then Friday into Saturday is when we could have that chance of some pop-up showers. Either way, it will feel a little muggy. Those relative humidity levels will certainly see an uptick. Taking a look ahead to your 7-day mountain and desert areas here locally, we'll be in the low 80s all the way until Thursday, and then we'll push closer to 90 for Saturday and Sunday. So it looks like the high heat will back off a little bit most of the work week, and then we'll see that uptick in temperatures come next weekend.
Now that we've toured the western region, don't worry, we have your national forecast coming up next. Welcome back to Weather Out West. After some heavy rain battered the Texas Hill Country, some of the hardest hit spots over the weekend, more flood alerts are in place for portions of southern Texas and the mid-Atlantic. Here's Chris Ramirez with all the details and a tropical update.
Hello, I'm KHULA meteorologist Chris Ramirez. We're tracking flash flood watches in place across some portions of the country, especially out in Texas. They're still dealing with some heavy rainfall out in the Texas Hill Country that does impact those areas hardest hit on July 4th. So a very active pattern, especially stretching off towards the northeast. There's a stationary front that's currently draped from Ohio going through Cincinnati. That's going to continue pushing towards DC and New York City. And that's the reason why the National Weather Service is issuing flood watches for a large portion or the northeast. So high temps today in the 80s, rainy conditions expected for today lasting into tomorrow, especially out in the deep south. Mostly quiet conditions. We have high pressure systems situated off across from Mississippi to Florida. That is bringing some sunny skies and hot temperatures. We're also tracking the possibility for some more showers and storms across Texas and portions of Oklahoma. Highs in the 90s, so sweltering and humid conditions expected. So out in the Midwest, mostly clear and sunny. Just warm temps. Omaha is topping it at 93, 97 in Rapid City, Minneapolis 92, and across the desert Southwest, temps soaring into around 110 to 112, especially out in Las Vegas. Phoenix with a high of 109 to Los Angeles, 69 degrees. So folks are seeing some also hot conditions across Idaho, 100 degrees for a high in Boise, Seattle at 77. As far as our tropics are concerned, we are tracking a disturbance that's currently situated off the coast of Florida. The National Hurricane Center giving that a 30% chance of development within the next 7 days as the center of that disturbance tracks across Florida. That could lead to some possible development in the northern Gulf as we head into the middle or later this week. So definitely expecting, and we're keeping an eye on that in the coming days, because we could see some development possible with that system. As far as our temperature outlook, the Climate Prediction Center calling for above normal temps from portions all the way from Houston all the way to the Florida Panhandle. Areas across the Pacific Northwest dealing with above normal temps as well. So a warm outlook expected as we head into the end of July. As far as our city forecast for today, Phoenix a high of 109, Denver 96 degrees, but we are expecting those storms to persist across portions of the south central U.S. and into the northeast.
Oh yeah, summer's in full swing, and I can't believe it's only been a month. Not even. That will be in a couple of days. Coming up next, I'm going to break down some heat safety tips, because who doesn't need heat safety tips? A nice little reminder. We'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back, and since heat has been the big talker and it's going to be all summer, did you know that heat is the #1 weather killer in the United States? That's per the National Weather Service. The heat can creep up on you quickly if you don't take proper precautions. We've all been there. So let's talk about ways to beat the heat. Here's some tips. You want to make sure that you are staying away from alcohol. Drink non-alcoholic fluids. Opt for looser and lighter colored clothing. Sunscreen, always a big thing to use and then reapply. Always know the heat safety tips. Know the difference between heat exhaustion versus heat stroke. If you stop sweating at any point and your body temperature climbs over 106 degrees, whether it's you or someone else, hopefully you can get medical attention immediately. So that is something always to keep in mind, especially again because the heat can creep up on you quickly. Here's some hot weather hacks. Some of these I was even surprised by, not so much this one, but hack #1, make sure to close your blinds and curtains. Turn your blinds upward or close them all the way to reduce the amount of heat coming into your home. And according to FEMA, in cases of extreme emergency heat, you can also put aluminum foil covered cardboard over your window to reflect the sun rays. As for windows, this is tip #2. Open your windows on opposite sides of your home if it's cool enough outside. It's going to create a cross breeze. It draws in cooler, fresh air from side to side, and then of course fans, you can put those in your windows too, and that will help speed up the process. And speaking of fans, tip #3, a ceiling fan will make you feel cooler due to the wind chill effect, but it won't necessarily lower the temperature of the room. And a lot of things that people forget about, make sure your fan spins counterclockwise during the summer months so the blades push that cooler air down. And you can usually set the direction using a very small switch beneath the blades. Ice packs and cold towels. This is something to cool your body down. Experts actually suggest that you put ice or a cold pack on your extremities, including your forehead, your neck, wrists, thighs, and your feet. And if you don't have an ice pack, you can always just throw a wet washcloth in the freezer. Appliances, we know we all have them, and you want to avoid using those during the day. They give off a lot of heat, as we well know. Your oven, your stovetop, washer and dryer, dishwasher. Try using a microwave or an outdoor grill to cook. That might be your best bet. And if you have to wash clothes, always use cold water, air dry, or do laundry at night. Now, we always remember to take care of ourselves as well, but don't forget that your pets they could possibly get heat stroke and heat exhaustion as well. So we can't forget about our furry friends. If it's too hot for you, it's too hot for them. You want to make sure you limit their exercise during the peak hours of the day. And if you bring them out during the day, we always suggest putting the back of your hand on the pavement for at least 7 to 10 seconds. If it's too hot, it's going to be too hot for their paws as well. And you always want to limit their exercise to mainly the early morning or the later portion of the evening. They can suffer from heat stroke too, especially some of those pets that have the pushed in faces. And never, ever, 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 I can't stress it enough, leave them in an unattended vehicle, even for a few minutes, even if it's 70 degrees outside. And this is why, especially if you leave them there, you run into a grocery store real quick. This is a little friendly reminder that just in 10 minutes, the temperature in your car can rise rapidly. So hot car danger, this is a nice little chart that explains that. Just in 10 minutes, a temperature of 70 degrees, it's already near 90, and then 85, you see close to 110. Add 20 minutes to that, 30 minutes, and you see how quickly the car temperature climbs. 95 outside, going to be 130 in the car. And then an hour, there you have it, 95, 140, but even 70 degrees, even if you crack the window for a couple of minutes, it's going to climb above 100 degrees. I know we all want to bring our furry friends everywhere with us, but that's at the point where you want to just leave them at home if you're going to be out and about. And of course, never forget your kiddos as well, even for a few minutes. High temperatures, because we're talking all things heat. You see Sacramento going to be in the upper 90s, triple digits, and then all the way out to the east as well, going to have some 80s, 90s, the deserts, no surprise there in the triple digits. Seattle, Portland, going to be in the 80s and 90s tomorrow. Heat advisory kicks in then. Then all the way down to California, Southern California especially, mid 70s closer, and then the inland areas, the deserts specifically. Again, no surprise there, in the triple digits. So stay cool, stay hydrated. If you work in the direct sun, remember, take frequent breaks in a cooler spot, whether it's in a car, anything you can to stay safe, stay hydrated. We hope you'll join us again for Weather Out West tomorrow. And remember, Monday through Friday, we'll have the latest on the western regions and the weather out west. Have a great day.